Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from who do well. Peace and salutations to 144,000 and the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with a little less through the spirit, and I'm entitled this one. You have to sell out to the devil to really make it in this world. And ultimately, who is the devil in this current world is really talking about the so-called white man, which is really Esau Edom, because he's the adversary that the scripture speaks about that is completely adverse to the nation of Israel. They're comprised of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And ultimately, majority of Jake of the nation of Israel have already been given over to Satan. A lot of them don't know that they've sold out, so-called selling their soul. You know, you really can't sell your soul, but willing to compromise your morals, willing to follow after these other gods and these other idols to get the bag. Especially these celebrities, these rappers, these actors, these professional ball players. They had to do a lot of wickedness to get that contract, that record label contract or sports contract that are worth millions, some even billions. But ultimately they had to literally bend over for Esau Edom to get the success or sacrifice one of their family members. You know, just like in the scriptures, you know, they do sacrifices on the left hand side. Either, you know, your mother or father, or maybe even your children. But that's ultimately what the spiritual demon Satan puts upon these so-called white people, these Edomites, and even Jake, to so-called make it in this world. And even these lower level Jakes, you know, that are Masons, that are so-called the Illuminati, the Black Boule, and even Jake in the corporate world. A lot of Jake that, you know, is high up on a executive corporate ladder. They had to do a lot of wickedness behind closed doors, you know. Esau Edom came to them and like, okay, you want to climb this ladder because you can only go so high up in a company, you know, in the top 50 Forbes company. Then eventually to climb up that ladder, you're going to have to do some wickedness. And a lot of Jake, they sold out for a couple $100,000, you know, maybe even $1 million job. But what they don't know, ultimately what the end is going to be for these wicked ass Jakes, for these celebrities, these rappers. When all hell breaks loose, when Esau Edom collapses this system, all these wicked riches that wicked Jake has gotten, they're going to be taken away, and ultimately they're not going to be delivered, and they're not going to be able to deliver them when all hell breaks loose. Because you got a lot of Jake that's doing pretty well for themselves, that know that the MOTB is coming, that know that all hell's about to break loose. But their way of being saved, you know, being kept from all these calamities is through their riches. You know, you had Rick Ross a couple years ago bragging about his bunker and his water maker, and he got wings in his bunker. But ultimately, if your bunker is here in America, this place that we call America, which is Babylon the Great, is going to be utterly destroyed by fire. So it don't matter if your bunker is 1,000 feet deep in the mountains, you still got those missiles coming. But yet, majority of these wicked Jake that sold out, they're not counting on that. And you got a lot of rappers that heard about the truth. The Kendrick Lamars, the Kodak Blacks, and these professional sports players in the NBA, Kyrie Irving, you know, these rappers, Kanye West. They know the truth. They know their true heritage, but what did they do? Did they leave all those riches behind to follow after Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai? Did they forsake the world to follow after Yahweh Shai and bear their cross? No. They're still doing the same damn thing. Now they've gotten more popular, Kendrick Lamar's of the world, the Jay-Z's, but all those riches aren't going to save him at the end. And ultimately, they're going to suffer a horrible death because they let a lot of our people astray. They led a lot of our people to follow after the image of the beast, to pursue a position in this world. Now you got a majority of Jake, they want to be rappers or ball players, and ultimately it was Esau Edom behind that to tell Jake that's high up in the world, these different ball players, LeBron James, Tyler Perry's, to push this image onto our people to go whoring after all these different material wealth, money, chains, women, which ultimately all these material possessions that these wicked Jake has is all coming to an end very soon, and it's collapsing rapidly. This is Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 2. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. So all these treasures that these wicked ass Jake has gotten through ill-gotten means, through sacrificing their family members, bending down for Esau Edom, bending down for Amalek, the small hats. Ultimately, all these riches that they're counting on to keep them safe when all hell breaks loose is not only the elect are going to be kept from all these different calamities that are coming upon the planet Earth, because ultimately they knew what the true treasures were. Ultimately, there's treasures that are being stored in heaven, which only the elect are going to have, while the rest of these 2/3 Jakes, these wicked celebrities, they're going to rely on their treasures upon earth, which ultimately are going to be taken away when Esau Edom crashes the system. This is Proverbs 21 and verse 6. The getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a vanity, tossed to and fro of them that seek death. And how do these wicked ass Jakes get all these different riches? Is ultimately by selling out. Yeah, they had talent, but they were handpicked by these Amalekites, by Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. Since they were, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, they were handpicked by these wicked elite to lead our people astray, because they had the talent, but they needed that extra push to make it, because you got a lot of talented Jake that didn't really make it in the industry. They might have gotten a one hit, they call them one hit wonders, but Esau Edom's gonna come and offer you that bigger contract. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to compromise your morals, you got to drink blood, you got to do all this to make it in this industry. And a lot of Jakes said, hell no. Now you don't hear from them. They got them one hit, or maybe they made one movie, and then you never heard of them from them again. But ultimately, that's because they chose not to bow down to Esau, and like the Denzel Washingtons, the Leonardo DiCaprios of the world, the LeBron James. They got one championship, they got one Super Bowl, and they wanted more. But what did they have to do? They had to do all this wickedness behind closed doors. They had to go to the Diddy parties, and then they lie about it like through hard work and dedication you can make it too. But ultimately, that's bullshit. You got to sell out to this devil, the self-proclaimed white man, to make it. This is Proverbs 13 and verse 11. Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. So all these different Jakes that are getting all these corrupted ass riches through ill means, it's going to be taken away very soon when this devil collapses this system. And all these Jakes that are worth hundreds of thousands, millions, billions, they're going to beg for the MOTB. They're going to beg Esau Edom. They're going to beg Amalek to give their riches back. And these wicked elite, they're going to be like, okay, but you got to take this Karagma. You got to take this MOTB to be able to participate in society. And ultimately, once we came into this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and then some brothers, before they came into the truth, they knew what the industry was truly about, what these rappers and these celebrities had to do behind closed doors to make it. And now that we know this, we know what the end of the wicked are. these wicked Edomites, these wicked Jakes, they sold out to Esau, Edom. So ultimately we can't be envious because we know what their end is, and we know what the end of the elect are, and what they're gonna receive, which is salvation, that crown upon their head. Unlike these 2/3, these wicked ass celebrity Jake that chose a corruptible crown instead. This is Psalm 73 and verse 12 in the NLT. And it reads, verse 12, look at these wicked people enjoying a life of ease while their riches multiplying. Yeah, we look at all these wicked ass Jakes, these celebrities living in their mansions, driving Lambos and Maybachs and all these exotic cars, showing their lavish lifestyle, going to islands, going to Dubai and all these different travels that they show. But you see how they're really living, doing all these drugs, smoking blunts, popping pills, sipping lean, because all that wealth, all these so-called luxuries, material wealth is to fill that hole that they're lacking. Ultimately, they're lacking Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Verse 13, did I keep my heart pure for nothing? Did I keep myself innocent for no reason? Verse 14, I get nothing but trouble all day long. Every morning brings me pain. So we look at how these wicked ass Jakes live. Like, damn, they keep getting on richer. Am I bugging out? Am I not doing something right? Because you look at most of the men of the Lord, the true prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, the believers, majority of us aren't really, well off like these celebrities and rappers are. Yeah, you got a lot of brothers, some believers, you got secret disciples that are celebrities, but ultimately, majority of the men of the Lord, the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, the true prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, we look at all these wealth and all these material possessions, and it's like, damn, am I doing something wrong? Why am I at the bottom of the barrel? But ultimately, we know why we're in the condition we're in, because Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is keeping us humble. He's not going to let us get more than what we can handle. Yes, some brothers may have a lot of money, they may have their own businesses, but ultimately Yahweh Bashim Yahushai put it up on their spirit to be able to handle that. Verse 14 or verse 15, if I had really spoken this way to others, I would have been a traitor to your people. Verse 16, so I tried to understand why the wicked prosper, but what a difficult task it is. But now that we have the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we get how these celebrities got all this wealth, what they had to do, and ultimately what their end is, which is destruction. But majority of Jake in the world, they don't understand, Yes, some do, but ultimately they're still going to be given over to Satan. They're going to be given over to Esau, Edom, because all he's going to take is for Jake to not eat a couple days, and they're going to bow down to this devil to be able to eat. They're going to take that charagma. Verse 17, then I went into your sanctuary, O Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and I finally understood the destiny of the wicked. And now that we have the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we get it. We get it why these wicked Jakes prosper. We get it why these wicked elite, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers prosper, because ultimately it was given unto them by Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. You always have these celebrity Jakes when they win an award, the first thing they do is say, I want to thank God. But what God are you speaking about? Are you speaking about the God, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? No. They're talking about the God of this world, Satan, spiritual demon Satan. And yeah, they're right. Those riches were given unto you by God of this world, which is Satan. And yeah, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai allowed him to get those riches and those wealth and that wealth. But ultimately, it was a snare and trap that's going to lead to the destruction. Verse 18, truly you put them on a slippery path and send them sliding over the cliff to destruction. Verse 19, in an instant, they are destroyed, completely swept away by terror. So that's what's going to be the end of Esau, Edom, is going to be destruction. And these wicked Jake, these celebrities, rappers, going to be destruction. those missiles, the intercontinental ballistic missiles. For these Jakes refusing to leave all that wealth behind and follow after Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, but only the elect are going to leave this world behind, leave this wealth behind, and follow after Yahweh Shai and bear their cross. Because you did have some brothers that were in the NFL, that were professional sports players, that were actors. They were high up in I have opportunities to climb in the world, but ultimately they left all that behind to follow after Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. This is Matthew chapter 16 and verse 26. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? So it profits nothing for you to sell out to the white man, to sell out to Satan, to the devil, for some corruptible riches, for some crumbs. That here you have the wealthiest Jake, the Tyler Perrys, the Jay-Z's. They're worth a couple billions, $1 billion, $2 billion, maybe even $3 billion. The Oprahs, but that's crumbs comparing to the Rothschilds. They own nations, they own resources. That's true wealth, and ultimately that's what we're looking forward to. True riches, which is being sovereign. The new bodies, having the laws, statutes, commandments written in our inward parts, immortality, having slaves, having the heathen subject unto us. That's true wealth, not some damn Lamborghini and a mansion in Beverly Hills that's gonna be destroyed by missiles. This is Proverbs 11 and verse 4. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. And these celebrity jakes that sold out to the devil, they're going to find out very soon that all that wealth that they've gotten is not going to save them. It's not going to deliver them. Only the elect are going to be saved by Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, because they knew what true wealth and riches was. To follow after Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, not to follow after this world, because this world was made for many, but the one to come for few, which ultimately the whole nation of Israel is going to be there, but it's going to start with the elect. It's going to start with the governing body that consists of the 144,000, the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Those are the ones that are going to be delivered from the upcoming death. This is Psalms 37 and verse 16. A little that a righteous man hath is better than the riches of many wicked. Verse 17, for the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholdeth the righteous. So it's better to get your daily bread, to be able to, pay your rent, have food, raiment, shelter, be able to have a transportation to be able to do the work, to make it to camp, maybe even being able just to catch the bus to make it to camp or Uber. But ultimately, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is able to provide that for his hopeful elect. While the rest of these jakes they're coveting after what Esau, Edom has, so they're willing to sell out. They're willing to compromise their morals and bend over, sacrifice their family members. But we know what the end of these wicked jakes is going to be. It's going to be destruction. While the elect, they're going to rely on the daily bread to be able to push through. Even in the time of famine, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is going to provide for the elect when there's no food for the rest of the world. His servants are going to eat, while the rest of these wicked Jake that think that they were going to eat, when all hell breaks loose, they're going to be sadly mistaken. But that's pretty much the point. I pray this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from him through well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the 1/3, the large multitude. Until I say shalom.